So you're thinking of moving to the Denver, Colorado area and you're wondering what you don't know? You want to know those things that people learn, the hard lessons that people learn once they move here, and you'd like to know them up front. I don't blame you. I learned some of these lessons when I moved here 18 years ago. So today I'm going to share with you some things you need to know when moving here from out of state to the Mile High City. I'm Kathy Hansen, a local area realtor. I'm also a suburban mom. I've raised all three of my kids here in the Denver suburbs, and we moved here from out of state 18 years ago. So I kind of know a thing or two about the stuff we're going to talk about today. And then the last thing, look at this gorgeous home I'm standing in. I am in a model home here in Littleton, Colorado, and you can check out the whole home tour of this home on my channel as well. Make sure when you're done with this video that you go check that out if you're interested in the rest of this home. It is one you don't want to miss. It is amazing. Okay, so let's get into those lessons I want you to learn prior to moving here from out of state and not learn them the hard way once you get here. Lesson number one is altitude sickness. Yes, it's a very real thing. Now, as I mentioned, we are known as the Mile High City, and that's because we sit at 5,280 feet in altitude. 5,280 feet, well, that's a mile long. That's why we're known as the Mile High City. Now, if you're coming from an area that sits right at sea level, well, you're gonna feel it when you get here. Altitude sickness is a real thing. Some of the symptoms of altitude sickness are headaches. You can become very tired or exhausted, lethargic. You might lose your appetite, which might be a bad thing because we have some really cool restaurants here in the Denver area. You might get dizzy or just overall not feel good. And one of the things that combats altitude sickness is oxygen. So if you really aren't feeling good, you can go to one of the oxygen bars in the area. You can go to like Dick's Sporting Goods. They have oxygen in a can. I'm not sure if that will work overall, but take a shot or two of that might help you feel a little better when coming to the Mile High City and getting the altitude sickness because you're not used to it. And when you first get here, we're gonna tell you drink tons of water because you are gonna feel very dry as well. That's also due to the climate and the altitude. And so you wanna drink probably twice as much water than what you're used to. And if you're coming and you're going out for a night on the town, well, I suggest you drink an alcohol drink if that's what you're drinking, and then a water drink, and then an alcohol drink, and then another glass of water. Because trust me, you'll feel it in the morning far worse than you do at sea level. So I don't know if it's the dry climate or if it's the altitude, but for whatever it is, take it easy when you get here and drink tons of water. Now, the second thing is our weather shifts quickly here. And so we dress in layers. And if you are coming to the Mile High City and you have a family and you're bringing kids with you, well, when we dress in layers, that means lots of laundry. So get used to that. That's just a part of living here if you have multiple people in your family that you do laundry for. And if your kids are like mine, well, they'll wear a sweatshirt and they'll wear it for an hour or so and then throw it on the floor of their room, or maybe leave it in their car when they're teenagers and it gets stuffed in a ball and stays in their car for weeks on end, and then it smells and you gotta wash it anyway. So get used to lots of laundry because of the layers that we dress in here. So our weather here, it can be bright and sunny one minute, and then we can have really crazy hailstorms or big windstorms or rainstorms that come in very unexpectedly. And then once that's done, 15, 20 minutes later, it can be bright and sunny again. So we say dress in those layers. In the morning, the weather you have in the morning might not be the same weather you have in the afternoon. You also want to keep an umbrella in your car and maybe a rain poncho. And you probably want to carry that rain poncho if you're heading out on hikes too. You're going to want to keep a snow brush in your car and an ice scraper. And you're going to want to keep your windshield wiper fluid filled at all times, all throughout the winter. And probably keep an extra bottle or two on hand at home. Trust me on this one, because we go through it a lot in the winter time. And if you run out of windshield wiper fluid and it's winter and you're on the roads, well, it sucks. Because if the roads are wet, the big trucks, the cars, it's all splashing up onto your windshield. And if you can't clean it, well, that becomes a very dangerous situation. Ask me how I know. It's kind of scary. So make sure your windshield wiper fluid is always filled during our winter months. Now, the third thing is sunscreen and chapstick are gonna be your new best friends. We wear sunscreen here and use chapstick all year round. all year long, even in the winter months. So again, we sit at 5,280 feet. We are a mile closer to the sun than people who come from sea level. So you want to lather up in sunscreen pretty much all the time, especially in winter. People think you don't need it here in winter, but those winter ski burns, when you get sunburned while you're out skiing, those are some of the best, because you have people who forget to put on their sunscreen and then they have these huge goggle marks that they're sunburned all around. So it's kind of funny. People do it once or twice and then they learn. So keep sunscreen in your car. And again, back to if you're moving here with a bunch of kids, a big family, well, you know how long it takes to lather everybody up in sunscreen? It's also something you're just gonna have to get used to. Sunscreen and chapstick. You're gonna have chapstick in your purse, in your pocket, in your backpacks, in your cars. Make sure you empty those things out before you hit the laundry, but you are gonna keep lots of that on hand. And the last thing we'll chat about today is hiking. Now, we lead a very active lifestyle here in the Denver metro area, and there are tons of hiking trails all over the metro area. In the foothills, up in the mountains, hiking is a huge thing here. So what I tell people is know before you go. So if you're moving out here and you're unaware and somebody says, hey, let's go for a hike, a few things you want to know is you want to be aware of what is this hike like? Is it a low-level hike? Is it a high-level hike? Is it moderate? What is the elevation gain? Those are things I didn't know when I got here. And I thought, coming from the state that I came from, when we go for a hike and we talk about a hike, it's kind of a leisurely stroll through the trees. That's not what hikes are like here. You could be hitting some pretty major elevation gains and not know it. So you have to be prepared and know before you go. Know what kind of hike it is so that you can be prepared. You want to bring a rain poncho, especially if you're heading up into the mountains. You want to make sure you have tons of water with you. I've done that and learned that lesson the hard way as well. When you think it's a casual 3-mile hike and it is not, it's a straight uphill 3-mile hike, is very, very different. And if you're on those hikes with no water, well, it can be dangerous, quite honestly. And you want to make sure you have your snacks. You got to keep your energy up. And then lastly, make sure you eat in the morning before you go on these hikes too. Don't go on an empty stomach because you're going to feel that as well. And then again, back to our weather that changes rapidly. Well, you're going to want to check that weather before you go also, and make sure you're packing the appropriate things like the rain poncho. The last thing you want is to head out on a 6-mile hike, get 3 miles out, get caught in this big rainstorm, which you can sit through, but then you have to hike 3 miles back soaking wet. That's not fun. Now, when you are here in the metro area, I strongly suggest you get out there and explore the outdoors. They are amazing with our mountains so close by, the mountain views, and the tons of hiking trails that we have. Get out there and do it. Just trust me on this one. But make sure you know before you go and you pack appropriately for your hike. So there you have it. A few things that I learned the hard way moving here from out of state. I hope you found this information helpful. And if you did, go ahead and hit that like button. Let me know. And if you want to see more of this house, I'm going to tour it and put this also on my YouTube channel. Then hit that subscribe button. I post every Tuesday a video about what it's like to live, work, and play right here in the Denver metro area. And then every other Friday, I do a new construction home tour just like this one, and you're not going to want to miss this one. It is amazing. You should see the views I have right in front of me here. Maybe I'll show you. Maybe I'll give you a little sneak peek. I know it's not the clearest of days, but is that not amazing? These are the foothills, not the big Rocky Mountains, but on a clear day, this is gorgeous. All I have for you today. I hope you get out there and make today a great one, and I will see you on the next video.